the nitty-gritty. Conversations get real live, it's time for the nitty-gritty. The revolution's not televised, it's time for the nitty-gritty. Reaching out to your conscious mind, it's time for the nitty-gritty. More than talking, we're taking action, it's time for the nitty-gritty.
Facebook, we're up. It's the jam too.
That's how far into it.
Yeah, they'll be up there.
You got to level up. I know. Right.
I know y'all like, man, they really jamming out to some gospel. Yeah, there's some of y'all need to be lifted up. And I was listening to some old gospel today. This is some Marvin Sapp. And I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and rock this out real quick. Yeah, Marvin Sapp from his I think it's like I'm Here, that album. Yeah, he was doing this. I know all the church folks is like, oh, they hitting right now. This is my groove. Yeah, some good. It's good to hear uplifting, inspirational music every now and then. So you need to get some of that in your spirit. I think I'll play a little bit on the nitty-gritty day. Don't just do something, it just touch you in a different kind of way, you know? Sometimes some music speaks to you in a different kind of way. This got to be speaking to you. Yeah, just a little bit to inspire y'all real quick, you know? Yeah. Y'all need some of that. I'm gonna give y'all some more of that at the end of the show too. That was Marvin Sapp, for you guys don't know, for those that don't know, and that was his song I Came. So I'm just saying, just want to inspire some people. It's your boy Jay DeCosta.
And it is your girl Kat.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. Got a cool show lined up for you guys again. Got a couple of things we want to discuss. Obviously we're gonna get into this foolishness that comes from the top office of our country right now. Y'all little president, Trump. Then and the stuff he said about Elijah Cummings out of Baltimore, that's real close to where we are here in the DMV. Also wanted to talk about big news, ASAP Rocky right now in Sweden.
Yep.
What's going on with that fiasco? But then also there's been some other stuff that surfaced that's been kind of like a big conversation on social media. So we of course we're going to attack that here on the Nitty Gritty, get down to it. Also, you have the Lela Rochon, Nicole Murphy, Antoine Fuqua thing. We actually posted on that earlier this week with the Nitty Gritty. We got a lot of people that have a lot of different thoughts, a lot of insight on that, so we do want to touch on that for a bit. And then there was another conversation that was kind of like an argument on social media about advertising whether or not you are or not a black business,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So, and I think there's some interesting thoughts to be brought up there, so we want to also talk a little bit about that. And we're going to keep it moving. So going into the first topic, Trump, always something with this banner. That's my DC vernacular for those that don't know. And so he made some comments towards Elijah Cummings. And this was at a reaction because Elijah Cummings had made comments about him and how he's handling migrants right now at the border. And Trump, in typical fashion, which... a lot of people say, like, oh, I don't worry about it. But I think the thing to bring up about this is so unbecoming of the highest office of the land.
Yep.
I can't recall a president since I've been alive or in the recent maybe 100-year history that has been so unprofessional, so petty. I don't even think you should use the word petty with the president. And even for those that didn't like Bush, you've never seen Bush just come out of pocket talking crazy. Mm-hmm. Reagan didn't come out of pocket talking crazy. They might have talked big boy stuff when it came to international politics, but you've never seen them standing from the highest office of the land use that platform to directly attack other members of this society. Mm-hmm. Typically, even if they don't believe it, even if they were really some coons behind the closed doors, at least publicly, they try to put on the face of what would gain the respect of most, if not all, Americans, right? And for him, and it's constant. It's constant. Even at church today, Reverend Watley brought up, not being able to find the bottom And he even used the example of not being able to find the bottom of the nastiness. Every time you think you found the bottom, you realize you haven't found the bottom. It's like fishing in muddy waters. So it is really disappointing to constantly see someone talk out the side of their neck, to be so negative, and use their platform in such a way to put down fellow Americans. And then he made a comment about Baltimore. He said it's a rat-infested city that no one should want to live in. He even tried to say that Elijah Cummings was racist. I don't, And for those that don't know, we had Tim Wise on the show.
Right, and there's a clip on our IG, so you can check it out. I mean, technically, you could say black people are racist, but that doesn't mean anything because we don't hold the power when it comes to systems and how countries are literally were ran off racism. So there's years of institutionalized racism that we don't benefit from. So by saying black folks are racist, it doesn't really mean anything. You could say we're prejudiced. We could be prejudiced.
But is that even accurate in this? That's not even an accurate comment towards Elijah Cummings because
it's not.
You're calling him racist because he doesn't like the way you being the President Trump is handling the border crisis or crisis issue, whatever you want to put on there. So this is Elijah Cummings who is trying to stand up for. Obviously, for those that don't know, Elijah Cummings is a black man. He's trying to stand up for migrants coming through the Mexican border. So that means, a good portion of those people are of Latino descent, right? And he's standing up for those. That's not something that a racist typically does, is stand up for someone outside of his community. But these comments talking about Baltimore is a rodent-infested mess. First of all, property values is going up in Baltimore because of Amazon bringing a new presence there, or the waterfront.
The whole
area. First of all, and then the thing that ticked me off about it is what he doesn't know, and he should know more about the people that voted for him, is that a good portion of Baltimore residents, because a lot of people don't know, Baltimore is fairly mixed. It's a lot of black people there, but it's a lot of working class people there. And guess what? They come in black, white, and minority, and so many other shades in between, right? And when I would have to go to Baltimore for work, I can tell you right now, in Baltimore, there are a bunch of Trump signs out there.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are a lot of middle class and lower class white people that voted for Trump. But when you say that city is a rodent-infested mess, no human being would want to live, guess what? A lot of these white people out there that voted for you want to live in Baltimore. And they want more jobs in Baltimore. And they want better opportunities in Baltimore. And some of the legislation that you and certain Republicans are behind are actually hurting those residents that voted for him. Now, I'm not going to criticize the people that voted for him, but I am going to criticize the man, the lies you put out, the story you told, to get these votes, to get these people to buy into you, and you haven't done anything for those residents of Baltimore. No legislation you have passed has benefited them. Matter of fact, you've done so much to try to repeal the era of Obama, you've actually taken away things that would benefit those constituents, but you don't care about them. And instead you attack them, and you attack the man that's doing his best within Congress to try to represent those folks. So Trump, I need you to have several seats. I just want to see you guys vote him out. For those folks in Baltimore, especially the white community, I hope that you guys pay attention to what he did, because he actually just threw a huge diss at you, and he's disrespecting your vote that you put for him to get there in that office, right? So maybe this might be an opportunity for you to maybe look at voting a different way. You might be a hardcore Republican, but maybe this might be that time you vote Democrat, because obviously the Republican you vote for doesn't value you, and you should do something about that to let them know that you mean business. And one of the best ways you can do that is write your local congressman. Guess what? It's a good chance he might be Elijah Cummings. Or you can write Trump and tell him how you felt. Tell him that this wasn't a comment that offended just black people. It offended me too, as a white resident of Baltimore, right? So definitely have to be more involved there. Any more thoughts?
Trump? No.
I know, right? Like, people feel like exhausted by him, but it's just amazing how stupid this man is. And I'm not using that loosely. I'm using that very directly. Very stupid. He didn't do the research. He just jumps off out of emotion. And this is not the kind of leadership we deserve as the American people.
Well, the American people allowed him to be in office, so maybe they should think about a little more stringent guidelines in order to get into the highest position of the country.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just a lot of things we should just revisit.
I mean, and he went in. He said that it's a filthy place, far worse and more dangerous than the southern border. And my thing is, if you really feel that way, why aren't you working to pass legislation that would benefit the cities like Baltimore, the Detroits, the Chicagos? If you really feel like Baltimore is way worse than the border, why have you focused so much of your attention towards the border, saying that's the #1 issue of America? Mm-hmm. If you're clearly with your own mouth saying there's cities like Baltimore that you feel are worse than that. What have you done to fix it? You are in the highest elected position in America. What are you going to do to fix it? If anybody joining in, we were talking about these deplorable comments from this so-called y'all little president-in-chief. Okay, if y'all wonder why we keep on saying little, right? We have found out that, especially sisters, when y'all want to downplay something, y'all call it little. I don't know if brothers do it as much.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in the community a lot of folks do it, but y'all be like, y'all little show. I see you got your little show. I see you wearing your little hat today. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I see you got promoted at your little job. Sidebar. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk more about that little thing later. But folks be doing the little slick diss. We're like, oh, okay, I see you got your little car. You got your little car. Yeah. But anyway, so y'all little president, be with his little hands, be talking all this trash. And, folks, we just got to do something about it. I don't want to belabor too much time on that. We got other things to get to. But this is kind of like a good transfer because Trump is kind of involved in this next situation. And that's dealing with ASAP Rocky, right? For anybody that's been kind of following the news, I don't know what rock you've been under if you haven't heard this story. But, of course, basically to give you some background, ASAP Rocky's in Sweden, charged with assault. And I guess based off the IG and the videos, if you've seen them, you see that there's people kind of like walking behind him with cameras. They're harassing him. He's asking them, please, repeatedly, multiple times, to leave me alone. And, he give them that smoke, right? So then he just...
Can we pause right there? I feel like when people tell you leave me alone, or people tell you what their guidelines are, their standards are, and yet you continually do the complete opposite, that means you want the energy.
Yeah, I mean...
That means you want that. I feel like sometimes people test you, it's like, back up off me, you in my personal space, and they still do it. And then when you finally, let them know what it is, and it's like, oh, you being real aggressive. No, I told you before that now you want the smoke. Now you don't want the smoke. After repeatedly, I told you what the guidelines were.
Yeah, it's crazy how people can really come crazy at you. And you're telling them like, hey, look, this is offensive, yada yada, and they still get it. And then they got the nerve to feel like a victim once, they get the energy they was asking for. That is wild. Also, another thing, on the other end though, right? We nitty gritty, we try to, cover all ends. If you're going to be famous, right? They've talked about this on Vlad. I've heard this mentioned on The Breakfast Club, various outlets saying this. And it's something to consider is, when you decide you want to be a celebrity, right? This was actually going to be a good point for our next topic after this. But you decide you want to be a celebrity, right? So you're in the public eye. That's kind of like, that comes with the territory though. People see you, they recognize you, they hear your music. Part of that recognition is also why you're successful, right? People recognize you, they buy your stuff, they stream your stuff, they support the brands that you decide to wear because you're an influencer, not just an artist, and you make your money based off that, right? And then you don't like the attention you get by way of being famous, but you chose to make that your career. So you got to understand that's one of the pro/con of being famous. People are going to try you, and then he was by himself. ASAP Rocky should have been moving smarter. You hear people in media talk about this all the time. If you're going to be famous, you're going to be a rapper. You're putting out a certain kind of energy that, you whip the smoke and somebody run up on you because that's what you're rapping in your lyrics. Someone might try to see, are you really about the stuff you say? And then on top of that, if you're famous, I don't care if you're a movie star or just a well-paid poet, you might want to, hire some security. You're in another country, you're moving around. You got to move smarter, though.
And it's funny how you said when you're famous, the kind of responsibility that comes with it because, prior to him, some time ago, he made those comments about oh, I'm not no regular. What did he say exactly?
Oh, I'll read it. I got it right here. Oh, yeah. I got the receipts, right? So there was a Breakfast Club interview where he tried to distance himself from politics and said he didn't want to be an activist. There was also, and I think it was Time Out that he did that interview. He said, I'm just going to stay black and die. Why? Because I'm black. Somebody asked him the question about, Ferguson, and then his response was, why? Because I'm black. So every time something happens, I got to stand up. What am I, what the blank or what the F? He said, am I Al Sharpton now? I'm ASAP Rocky. I did not sign up to be no political activist. He also further said, I don't want to talk about no blank and Ferguson and blank because I don't live out there. He went on to say, I live in blank and Soho and Beverly Hills. I can't relate.
Right, but you can't relate now, but I'm sure there was a point in time that you can relate. And so often we have celebrities that become famous and they get some money and they're like, oh, I don't even remember that. And it's like, that's the reason why God allowed you to go through hard times before to remain humble. Now, maybe that's not everybody's story, but it's crazy people say they can't relate. Furthermore, I feel like everybody knows that when you become a celebrity, you are going to be an activist, a spokesperson, and an influencer. There are definitely ways to dodge questions. Like if somebody were to say, well, where do you stand politically? You could definitely say, I don't want to talk about that right now. You could say that, I understand, but nonetheless, you're an influencer. You're getting paid, and promoters are coming to you to do business deals because of your celebrity status. Mm-hmm. So if you don't want to be in the public eye, then perhaps you shouldn't become famous. And honestly, there is a way to have affluency and not have fame. But a lot of people want fame because when you have fame, it allows you to become relevant.
It's how they make their money.
It's how they make their money.
And it's crazy because a lot of people on Twitter, like for instance, there's a comment, LMAO, the irony of ASAP Rocky not understanding the BLM movement, but being a victim of unjust conduct is actually hilarious. There's been people out there that said ASAP Rocky can rot in Sweden for all I care, based off his previous comments. And it's interesting that, people will try to distance themselves, from, the culture that they're making money from.
Right.
And, and it's like you said, you live in Soho now, you live in LA now, but, that hadn't always been the case for you. And, and even if that never was the case for you, there should be something in you that says, you know what, I just want to do right by my fans. A lot of your fans do live in those kind of places. There's people buying your music, listening to your music right now in Ferguson. And these issues are not just a Ferguson issue. These issues, we see them planted and across the whole United States. And I would like to see our artists do better. We had Sir Glenn Lamar on recently, on our little hood show or whatever. And but anyways, he had made the comment that about, he knows that everybody can't be that, but he does understand the position he's in. You know what I'm saying? And we do need more artists kind of understanding that the power of your words and your platform.
Yeah. And I think that should come from development classes. I believe certain artists, certain labels, people do development classes. I'm not asking.
I know Rock Nation does.
Yeah, I'm not asking
it's really
you
big
to
on
be.
Jay-Z's radar these days.
I'm not asking you to be Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, but I am asking you to use your platform responsibly. I do want to say that I'm torn because on one hand I'm like, man, forget ASAP Rocky. That's what you get. Karma is a BITCH. But on the other hand, this is the Christ-like spirit in me where I understand that God extends grace to me, so I should extend grace to others. I feel like as artists, you have the opportunity to develop. So who you are when you first come out may be ignorant, but if I see you, kind of like Jay-Z, we've seen him progress and develop into the man he is now. And so you can appreciate that because it's like you feel like, wow, all of that money and worth and value transfer into something much greater than just being a rapper. Like now you're a billionaire, you're making moves. You see the progression, but then you'll see other artists who were one-hit wonders or at one point they were on top of the, like for example, let's talk about Cisco and Drew Hill. Like at one point they were like big and then now it's like, people were saying they were on drugs and doing all this stuff like that. I don't know if they're using their platform irresponsibly, but the point I'm trying to make is that when you get in a position of affluency, it is up to you. To me, there's no excuse for you and your family to be poor at that point because you've been put in a position to create opportunities to create more wealth and generational
But if you haven't been taught what to do with your wealth, it's a reason why people don't do more with it. For instance, something that Berry Gordy and the Motown did. They were really big on trying at least to teach the artists as much as they can about how to manage their finances. They took they actually forced them to take classes on professionalism, their etiquette, things of that nature. So that way they were polished acts, and that was a big thing in the 50s and the 60s. You know, to present yourself as a polished act, as a quality celebrity, and a lot of those folks still end up having their own issues with drugs, poor money spending, and all of that. But I think the most you can try to do is try to educate those. It'd be more or less those people in power. If you have an opportunity to try to educate those to properly put their money up and things of that nature, I appreciate that. But when you bring up the Christian side of you, saying like, you know, even though A$AP Rocky did something jacked up, you feel like there's a part of you that want to reach out. I want to quote this, Martin Luther King: "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in the inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." And that's why, even though he may not have been a supporter of the Black Lives Matter, very ignorant in that moment, even though countless others may not be deserving of grace, but the truth is, if you truly are an activist, for those who are activists out there, if you truly do care about those outside of you, then, you know, one would want to hope that A$AP Rocky gets justice out of his situation. And then the hope would be that maybe him going through that may cause him to change his trajectory and his outlook on these things going forward. It's crazy because, you know, Donald Trump, with all his foolishness, I think, you know, he understands rich people, or people can say what they want to about, you know, Kim Kardashian and all of that.
People be giving her ish,
but you know what? What happened is A$AP Rocky's people reached out to Kim Kardashian and Kanye, and they try to help, you know, get some relief there for A$AP Rocky. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I think it was, I forgot who it was. Someone from A$AP's camp reached out to Kanye, reached out to Kim and Kanye, and then they reached out to Trump to see if they could send representatives over to kind of help his case. And people actually did, you know, via them reaching out to Trump, went out there. So
I just want to make one comment and then I'm done. One thing I want black celebrities to realize is that at the end of the day, no matter how much money you got, you are still black in America. And to me, it's very ironic how many of you forget where you came from, you can't relate, you act all bougie and act like you're above the fray. But the moment racism steps on your door, then all of a sudden you want to be for the cause. My thing is, don't be selfish about the cause. Be for the cause when it's not on your front door. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, so, I mean, no, Trump had tweeted that he reached out to Prime Minister Stefan Wolfen, however you say his name. You know, you gotta have a spit. Yeah, you gotta have like something like a hairball caught in your throat. But he said he reached out to him to help, you know, do whatever, and say that he won't be a flight risk. So the thing is like, so even with him being as stupid as he is, as dumb as he is, this is why while someone is still at least sitting in a spot, you have to engage them, even if they make you sick, even if they're like just the most difficult person in the world to deal with. The fact is, the chair or the position they sit in still can get some things done. In this case, it didn't do nothing for A$AP Rocky. I don't know if they really respect Trump all that much. However, though, you still have to engage those political officials in office, because when Kennedy died, all we had left sitting in that spot was Johnson. That didn't stop Martin Luther King from, you know, reaching out and trying to get things done. So, you know, you have to engage what you have. And don't forget the Civil Rights Act was passed via Johnson, who was not a supporter of the movement. You know, Kennedy was our guy. But, you know, when you engage people, whether you have differences or not, because they have to respect their seat, because you will vote them out if you exercise your vote. So
you'll be voted out.
Yeah, they will be definitely voted out. So that's that on A$AP. Some more celebrity gossip or celebrity happenings.
Let's get to the juicy.
This is what you've been waiting for.
Juicy.
All right, so let the people know what's going on.
The tea, hunty.
So give people the tea. Let them know what was happening.
The tea, hunty is apparently, what was it? Was it breaking news last weekend It may have been last weekend, I think.
It might have been last weekend, but we didn't talk about it. No, I think it came out
Monday.
Monday. It must have been like earlier Monday.
So
late
Antoine Fuqua, if you don't know him, he's a producer in Hollywood. He's produced movies like Training Day and
The Equalizer. He's done a bunch of projects with.
He's married to Lela Rochon. And Lela Rochon, if you don't know, was in Waiting to Exhale. She was sexy. People often mistake her for Robin Givens, even though I think she's a little better than Robin, but neither here nor there.
But they were.
Anyway, they've been married for 20 years, and so they spotted Antoine Fuqua kissing Nicole Murphy. And Nicole Murphy is Eddie Murphy's ex. They have 5 kids together. So there's been like all these different circulations of opinions about the situation in the matter. Just to bring you up to speed, Nicole Murphy put out 2 statements. The first statement saying that she apologized. She was just embracing a family friend. I'm sorry, but I don't believe you kissed a family friend in that regard or even have that kind of like relationship. And then the second statement was she didn't know that he was still he was still married. She was under the impression that he was divorced. I don't know how she didn't, fact check, but neither here nor there. Also, Nicole Murphy has been known to do this more than once because apparently, according to Lisa Ray, Nicole Murphy was up on her man as well.
So you a homewrecker.
So this is not a one-time occurrence with Nicole Murphy. Word has it on the street that Nicole Murphy is looking for checks because her youngest child with Eddie Murphy, I think is like 15, 16. I'm getting off the point. Point being is that people have been having an opinion that, well, maybe the reason why Antoine Fuqua cheated on Lela Rochon is because Lela Rochon is now out of shape and overweight. And if you are married, one way to keep your man faithful is to stay in shape. I think that's a bunch of BS because Beyonce Knowles is not only in shape, but she's a bad mamma jamma. Jay-Z cheated on her. Halle Berry ain't never been fat day in her life, yet she was cheated on. And the list goes on. Cheating has nothing to do with the other person. It's about that person, what they're doing internally. And apparently this is not his first offense. I am appalled by all the women who are coming for Lela Rochon saying that...
Well, surprisingly, and it's been nothing but women from what I've seen. I haven't seen any men.
Who are saying, well, Lela Rochon actually deleted her Instagram, but I'm appalled by all the women who are saying, you should stay in shade to keep your man sexy. First and foremost, we don't know what goes on her home, but as a woman, you're going to gain weight as you age. Let's not forget, Lela Rochon is 55 years old. So she's at menopausal age. She also deals with lupus and takes steroids for lupus, which causes her to gain weight. And I just feel like if you feel like keeping your physical appearance is enough for a marriage to survive, you obviously are not mature enough to handle what all goes into marriage. Marriage is not a quick sprint. It's a marathon. Weight goes up and down. Seasons in life, your man may have a job, he may not have a job. You may have a job, he may not have a job. Maybe you guys can't get pregnant. Maybe you have kids and they're overwhelming. You lose a parent. I mean, there's just so many factors of life that go on in the marriage. And what God expects for you and your significant other is to figure out how to get through those tough times. Not be out here like, well, you don't act the same way you did when we first was married 10 years ago. You don't look the same way we did 10 years ago, so that gives me grounds to cheat. Like, what kind of mess is that?
Now, I will say this, because I agree with everything you just said. I mean, you was preaching, right? You was definitely on the money. I will say this, though, about one keeping up with one's weight or keeping up with certain things. I do believe that people in a relationship, you should want to... Stuff happens, right? In this case, some of hers are somewhat medical. But she's still rich, right? And I know there's a lot of women, if they had her kind of money or a husband with that kind of money, they would probably, figure out a way to stay competitive in that market.
And he's kind of in shape too.
And he's in really good shape. You know what I'm saying? I mean, brother had a 6-pack from the picture I've seen him kissing.
He wasn't a 6-pack, but he was like...
He had some definition on his stomach, all right? And I know he was, kissing somebody who was just as defined as him. Maybe he's attracted to that. Lily used to look like that back in the day, right? She was like a whole snack. Now she's eating a lot of snacks since then. But the thing is,
we don't know if she's eating the snacks. We don't know if this is steroids medication that's causing her to gain a lot of weight. People who have lupus, it's very hard for them to like just physically move. Tony Braxton talks about it a lot. Like she's belabored just by walking, like just exhausted.
Well, you know what? But even outside Lela Rochon, let's just taking it to a broader conversation, more generalized. There's some folks that they gain weight. Because men gain weight too, mind you. I'm not talking about just women here. I'm talking about people, period. they gain weight, they stop looking as attractive, and then even then they start doing even less attractive things in their attitude. You end up either nagging your husband or your wife. You don't buy them flowers anymore. When you was trying to get the cookie, before you put a ring on it, you was buying flowers regularly. You would take some time at night to say non to the ball game, non to the games, and say, all right, let me just have a romantic night, me and you, and have some candles, and maybe just go out to eat. Let's go for a long walk. Certain things like that, I get it. Marriages go through ups and downs. People go through ups and downs in their own mind that may cause them to maybe pull back from some of those activities. But just because you're going through things, at some point you might want to find your way back to a point where you can still uplift, support, or do those things for your spouse that they need to have. If your spouse made it clear to you that being healthy was really important, I know a lot of people today, men and women, saying they don't need you to be a certain size per se, but being healthy is important to them, right? Because maybe they come from a family where folks have diabetes, and seeing a loved one die from that might have been detrimental to them. They don't want to see that happen to someone they're engaged in a relationship with. There's a lot of people out there that put a lot of weight on health, especially these days. People are eating healthier. Folks are becoming vegans.
And I can understand you want to make sure you keep it tight, sexy, and you look good to your significant other. You don't want to wake up and your significant other's like, well, I don't know who you are.
Because there's some people that just let it go. They don't really have a medical reason as to. But if you look at their diet, if you look at what they're doing, they're just,
But I feel like if you are married and you're in shape, to me, what does that say when your significant other isn't? Shouldn't you be their advocate to get in shape? Shouldn't you be grabbing them by the hand and say, let's go walk? Yeah, let's eat better.
Yeah, and once again, not nag, not belittle, but encourage and support them in weight loss. Sometimes certain people have different types of DNA and genetic tendencies, so one person may be able to eat a lot of sweets and stay small, right?
Right, that's true.
But then again, they could be unhealthy. They could have a thyroid that's keeping them small like that. Meanwhile, they have really bad internal health. But besides that, people may react differently to the certain lifestyle. So maybe if your spouse gains weight from that, maybe you change your lifestyle with them to help support where they're trying to go, right?
Right.
You hear situations about men that are trying to lose weight or women that are trying to lose weight, but their spouse is still eating McDonald's or still cooking like a bunch of fried food around the house, fried pork chops, still, not making any vegetables, trying to stuff them with macaroni and cheese every weekend. And don't get me wrong, those things taste good, nothing against that. Shoot, I just fried up some fish today. But, when you're at a health risk, maybe you modify your diet to get the best you can out of life. The number one killer of black people, isn't white men. It's actually white substances such as salt and sugar. That's killing more black people than anything in America. Salt and sugar. So I think we should want to take care of our health, but that shouldn't be the reason to walk out the door and cheat on somebody.
And I think it's interesting that the conversation is focused so much on Lela and her weight and her physical.
Yeah, because nobody's really talked about how good of a dog he is.
We're not talking about Nicole Murphy and her offense. We're not talking about her husband and his offense. And that's my thing. Like, these two people should be talked about and ridiculed because they disgraced what is the covenant of marriage. And here's my other thing. If Lela Rochon was this so bad of a woman, why is that they're married for 20 years? Obviously, there are qualities about her.
He ain't divorcing her for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, then again, it's also cheaper to keep her at that point,
Yeah, but I mean, still though, these celebrities, they divorce at the drop of a dime. They know it's
cheaper
expensive.
to keep her.
But she might be for real a sweet woman. For whatever reason, and she was so deplorable.
She may know how to cook. Quiet as is kept. She may know how to put down in the kitchen, and he may have been able to eat and still maintain some kind of physique, and maybe she wasn't able, like he said, because of her genetics.
Yeah.
Point being is that Nicole Murphy, you wrong, homegirl. I don't care how cute you are.
Yeah, Nicole Murphy's foul for that.
And it was a lot of dudes like, but Nicole Murphy bad though. I understand.
Yeah, but just because somebody's bad doesn't mean you let them come up and destroy your marriage. Because keep in mind, for all these guys are talking about, well, she bad, so that's okay. You vowed to the other woman though, the one that you with, that you're gonna be with her. All right, and you said you were gonna forsake all others for her. That's what the vows say, right? Am I wrong? Because somebody correct me?
They said she did like Nicole Murphy bad though. I can understand why Antoine Fuqua would have went for her. I would have went for her too. That joy is fire, and that's the problem with men. y'all want to get married, but y'all not ready for marriage. If you come in...
No, that's not so much a man problem, like, wanting to get married. That's more so women. Like, I'm going to check that one real quick.
Okay, women want to get married. The point being is that you're a man, you committed to marriage, but you still worried about who bad. If you that immature, sir, you shouldn't be getting married.
And guess what? There's nothing wrong with saying you like a bunch of bad girls, you want to do that, but just, stay single if that's what you're on. Same thing for women too, because there's a lot of girls having a hot girl summer, and that's kind of funny because you're going to end up having winter pregnancies and spring babies. But, if you ain't, protecting yourself accordingly, right? And be careful who you doing what you're doing your business with. But, with that said, yeah, there's definitely an opportunity for people to be a little bit more mindful about going into these relationships. I think we've talked about this at length in the nitty gritty about the idea of going into these things from a surface level, right? Relationships are deep. Matter of fact, speaking of relationships, I'll go ahead and throw this in there real quick. We're doing a relationship series in September, and this is going to be cool. We're not just going to talk about like fidelity and all of that, but we're going to talk about some of those more intrinsic values that normally aren't discussed about, like the finances, making finances together, how people stay together. Good friends of ours, Jerome and Sandra, I believe they're going to be on. We're trying to get a date settled down, but I believe Will and his wife are going to come on. They're like a superpower couple. Both of them be on MSNBC, like representing. And Will had made the comment that his wife said, this is Michelle, that marriage is the biggest financial decision you ever make in your life.
It is.
So, those are the things we want to talk about in September. We're going to talk a lot about relationships in September. Because
do you feel there is more pressure on women to maintain their figure, obviously, because men are physical, than it is for men? Because I see a lot of guys out here with like beer bellies, and they got some bad chicks.
Yeah.
And there's no accountability for them to be healthy at all, but women gotta be skinny.
So here's the trade-off, right? And I'm going to step on some toes when I say it, but I'm cool with that, because I'm cool with being in the hot seat. So the trade-off is, yes, absolutely, you're right. Women do have it harder than men when it comes to the pressure that that's put on them to maintain a certain type of physique, to look sexy, to stay slim. Men can kind of let themselves go and, like you said, acquire what's more widely accepted as a sexy woman, right? However, there is a lot of pressure on men to get money, right? Mm-hmm. And there is this excuse that men can use. If you have a certain amount of wealth, you can kind of get away with cheating. It was even said, a year ago in the Nitty Gritty show when we did our whole big thing, it was like, a young lady had said, so-and-so around the block can't cheat on me, but like a Mark Zuckerberg, that's a little different, right? It's kind of like, so we have to start putting so much pressure on finances being the key to a good man, because if he doesn't have great quality or character about him, he's going to cheat on you with a Brittany Murphy because you gained a little weight. Mm-hmm. And we don't even know if that's why he cheated, because obviously he cheated in the past. So he just might not be a quality man. So just because he has money doesn't make him quality.
Or maybe they got an arrangement.
I mean, we don't even know, if this is an offense to her or not for sure yet.
Well,
right?
I think it is because she deleted her Instagram.
Yeah, or maybe she just didn't want to hear her name brought up all the time. We don't, those facts we don't even have, so we're only making assumptions. But there is a lot of pressure for men to have money, to have means, and women will make, allowances because you have money, right? It's like, I don't like that, but you got a lot of dollars.
Right.
You don't need a six-pack if you got 6 cars. It's been said. And I just think we may need to address that a little bit more so about putting too much stock and how much money a man got in his pocket, and that's why we get these brothers acting the way they do.
I know.
Yeah, they drive a BMW, or they got a Porsche, or they got a nice little pad, or they're just doing a little bit better than someone else. And then you got a lot of women that will leave a good man as well for someone who looks like he got more money. Mm-hmm. So that happens. So I don't know. That's something worth talking about. All right, I'm just saying, So yeah, and actually, before we go to our last topic, though, no, I'm not gonna go there. I am gonna go there. So there's this whole weight loss thing, like everybody's like, crying and stuff for women, but you know what? Like with the money, going back to the money thing, you don't think it's odd that in society, this is how you know that they put too much pressure on men as far as money. A woman who doesn't take care of their kids gets welfare, right? No one. You don't go.
When you say she doesn't take care, you mean she doesn't have the means?
If she doesn't financially care for her kids appropriately, what happens to a woman when she doesn't financially?
I wouldn't phrase it that way. I would say a woman who is in a lower socioeconomic class or may not have the means to take care of her kids will probably get on some kind of federal or state funding. Yes.
Or like even if she was middle class and she fall off on her money though, right? The result is, she's not going to get locked up for not financially.
Right, but we know that there are biases from men and women and different things. When it comes to kids, women are favored. That's just what it is. I'm not saying it's
I'm
right.
not saying, but a financial thing to look at.
But no, I'm not saying it's right.
If a man doesn't pay his child support,
he go to jail.
He go to jail. No one says, you know what? Oh man, you doing bad? Let me get you an EBT card. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna get you some subsidized housing,
right? Because
until you get on your feet.
There's a lot of biases on both sides. Same thing with women, how you should, be on birth control. Obviously, hormones can affect your body weight, can affect your inside. But with a man, you need Viagra or you want to get a vasectomy. Oh, don't worry, that's taken care on your health insurance. So I mean, there's biases on both sides.
No, you're right, yeah, because both should be able to be done. But I just wanted to throw that one out there. You know what I'm saying? Like represent for the brothers kind of thing. So there's another comment you brought up. Maybe give everybody some more backstory about this whole to be or not to be black owned, or at least admit that you're a black owned business.
Dana, I can't think of her last name. She's like a really big generational wealth influencer on Instagram. She was doing a live series with her husband, and she was saying she believes that the one thing that black folks do wrong when it comes to businesses is that they always talk about, I'm a black owned business, and then they look for black people to come and patronize their business, and when they don't get black supporters, they get upset. Like, that's why I can't do them for the community because they don't come and they don't support yada yada yada. And she was saying when you are thinking about business, you shouldn't have it in your head that I should have black supporters and blacks only should patronize my business. You should have it in your head, how can I assess the market for supply and demand, and therefore garner the attention of everybody, whether you're black, Asian, or whatever. Now, if you have black folks that come through, maybe, from time to time, you might, pour into them on ways on how they can also open a business. She said don't give out discounts because people, that makes your business look cheap. But she was saying in that regard, pour into them in that regard.
What do you mean don't give out discounts?
Meaning, she was saying how if you black, so I'm going to give you an extra discount, and then they tell somebody, and then everybody comes to your business thinking, well, you gave so-and-so a discount, that must be the standard, then that kind of takes away from
I see what you're saying.
the standard of the business, because everybody's looking for a discount. Now, if you choose on your heart one day to give somebody a discount, that's on you. Basically, her and her husband's point was that if you are a business, you should just say you're a business. Don't associate race with it, because she made really valid points. People were doing that back in the 60s, which hence why there was segregation. Oh, this is a white-owned business. You can't be here. If you're talking about, this is a capitalist society, if you want money for real, you need to make it known that we're open for everybody. Everybody can come up and through here. If it just so happens that your product garners the attention of black folks, that's one thing. But even to that, you still have to figure out a way of how you can get dollars in all communities. Because when Jewish folks, open their businesses, they're not running around saying we do it for just Jewish folks. I'm sure other Jewish folks will support them, but they're looking for money from everybody, right?
Yeah, so a lot to unpack there, but I will say, I would like to first start off saying, the idea of business is to make money, right? So if you're going to business, the bottom line is the green. So it doesn't matter. I have a Jewish mentor in business, and he's owned a bunch of top. He's I can't say the eye doctor term. Optometrist. The word for an eye doctor. You know what word I'm trying to say, but I'm fumbling it up right now. Anyways, but one comment he says is, I don't see color. I only see green. If there's money to be made, I don't care if it's a wealthy black neighborhood. I don't care if it's a wealthy white neighborhood. I want my businesses where the money is. Right? And as a result, his business model plays in the DMV because he had businesses in Bowie and Upper Marlboro, which we know are predominantly black in the DMV. But he also had businesses in Chevy Chase and Bethesda, which we know are predominantly white. but he was just chasing the money, right? And he didn't necessarily promote the fact that he's a Jewish businessman per se, but everyone knows at the same time he's a Jewish businessman, right? As far as promoting that I'm black and I own a business, but I don't really got to promote it per se, because if I own the business, you find out that it's me that owns it, well, you know it's a black business. I think there is something to be said about having a list or a directory like Jay-Z and Diddy are working on. There's one that already exists about showing what black businesses exist, because the truth is other cultures do that though, right? We know that Asians try to support their own folks that look like them. You see the Jewish community.
Well, they're black, but
you know what I'm saying? So there's nothing wrong with, being black and saying I'm a black-owned business. I think the issue is a lot of times from some owners say it, but then also supporters of those black businesses, they get mad when from people outside the culture put money into that business, and that's what gets stupid. We've seen this with the Shea Moisture situation. When people get mad at Shea Moisture because they're a business trying to make money in the hair industry, they wanted to display how their products are not just good for black women. They know that's their core, but they just made a simple a commercial or a small snippet that showed how it was also beneficial to Euro hair.
But the reason why is because their competitors like the Doves, the L'Oreals, the Pantene are able to have people of all races buying their products.
Exactly. So, mind you, that doesn't stop the Johnsons & Johnsons of the world, the Pantenes, all these other products out there, L'Oreal. That doesn't stop them from creating lines. Same thing for CoverGirl. They create lines to pull in black business, right? But the second that a black business tries to do something that's going to gain the attention of more buyers, period, and starts moving outside of saying, focusing on one demographic, then we get mad. I think we need to learn how to say it's all right for multiple people to buy from a business, and that business still be a pro-black business that does things with their money and their influence in such a way that still supports our culture in ways we want to see supported.
And one of the reasons
we put a lot of pressure on our black businesses that we don't ever hold other buyers.
And one of the reasons why I think some of the black patronizers were upset with Shea Moisture is because they said that once they sold Shea Moisture, the products weren't the same. And I get it. But to Juan's point, if we're ever going to build generational wealth, if we're ever going to be a people that's coming out and really improving our financial status, we have to understand that we live in a capitalist society.
Exactly.
And when you live in a capitalist society, at the end of the day, no matter what, money matters. That doesn't mean you compromise your integrity, but you have to understand that money matters. And so if you want Shea Moisture to employ more black folks, they got to bring in more revenue. How they bring in more revenue is by opening it up to different people outside of just black folks. And I think the problem is we are so short-sighted. We can only see things one-dimensional, and we don't have enough experience with how to make money. So we get upset when somebody don't give us a discount. We get upset when we offer the same package to a white couple. And it's like, it's about money. You think President Trump really cares about people? At the end of the day, he about money. Even white people who are working class, he don't care about y'all. It's about money. People who are
follow the money.
Follow the money. So that's that. So I just feel like for me as a business owner, I am black, but I would never want to market myself as I am a black business. Now, if it means it's a registry where they say if you're black owned, can you register? Sure. But I don't want to market and say I am a black. If I had a commercial, I would never say I'm a black business because I only want black listeners. No, if my core are black folks, I get it. But I still think that this conversation that we're having here in the Nitty Gritty Show is equally as important for people who look like me as the people who don't look like me. So I would never want to coin it as, we a black podcast. I want other people to tune in too so they can learn something.
Yeah, because for instance, the comments we made earlier, I am not a Trump supporter by any way. But I do feel like if you voted for Trump and Trump will talk about a city that you live in, and he purposely designed a message for you working class whites, and he's going to talk trash about your city like that, that should offend you, and you should let him know. You should write him letters, and if he doesn't earn your vote next time around, you should let people know, wait, because, hey, Trump spoke to me directly. I got signs all over West Baltimore saying I support him, and then he talks trash about my city. I voted for him so he can make my city better and give me more job opportunities. But then dealing with this issue of black business, it's all right, I think, promoting your black business. Prime example, New Vegan in DC. Black-owned business.
Yeah, but I don't ever hear them running around.
Well, let me finish my statement.
Okay.
Black business or whatever, right, in DC, but they still pull in business from all types. If you ever go to for anybody that ever comes to the DC area, there's a vegan restaurant. A lot of celebrities have been through there. New Vegan. They don't necessarily promote that they're black, but when you see the two owners, a black woman and a black man, you know that they're black owned. They do a lot in the community, but at the same time, they just get a lot of business because they're a vegan spot to go to.
And it's good.
You want vegan fried chicken? And it's actually really good. It tastes like, it reminds me of chicken nuggets from back in the day from McDonald's. That's kind of what it puts me in mind of. I know that's not like the best.
I was gonna say that some people they're gonna be like, "Bro, that don't sound like it's."
I mean,
that don't sound like it's.
I haven't had chicken nuggets in a long time, but I'm just saying, like, it kind of reminds me of that kind of flavor. But no, they got a lot of stuff that's hitting over there at New Vegan. The cookies, the cookies are dope. You know what I'm saying? Them vegan chocolate chip cookies, man. That might be a nice little look this week, right? Yeah, I'm about to say I might hit up New Vegan.
Yeah, no chocolate chip.
And then also I like to bring up Damon John, who owns FUBU. I mean, obviously FUBU, for us, by us. I mean, he's changed the narrative a little bit now because he's on Shark Tank and all of that.
Well, he sold FUBU,
he sold it, but I mean, let's not act like what FUBU really meant. But the thing that was crazy about it is he never discriminated when the questions were asked to him, even back in 97 and 99, who's allowed to wear it. He's like, we said this for us, by us, but anybody can wear these clothes. He made it clear. If you like the fashion, if you want to wear it, you can wear it. And I remember living in Tennessee at the time, there was a bunch of white boys running around with FUBU jerseys. I didn't even own one when it was, I had this really cold jacket that my mom got me for Christmas though. Shout out mom, you know what I'm saying? I was fly. It was black with the little blue arms on it, you know what I'm saying? It was real shimmery. I looked like I was in an LL Cool J video. You can't tell me nothing. I was fly. Now, the clothes under it weren't FUBU, so I felt like away. But at the same time, I had that FUBU jacket though. So you best believe everywhere I went, I had my jacket on. I had it always zipped up because I didn't want people to see white tee under it at the time. So, I used to be really hot at the skating ring. I was really hot at the movies. People would be like, yo man, take your jacket off, zip it down. But I needed everybody to see my FUBU jacket. Needless to say, FUBU did really well, kind of representing themselves. That's why I bring on a different part of the narrative.
I think the reason why FUBU did well because at the time, Tommy Hilfiger was getting a lot of flack for saying that his clothes weren't for black folks. So people were like, well, I ain't gonna rock with Tommy no more. I'm gonna just wear FUBU and support somebody that is.
And of course, Tommy came back and went against that.
He ain't been the same.
But it's crazy.
He ain't been the same since.
You don't even see. It's crazy. He didn't want black people wearing his clothes, right? As a result, Tommy Hilfiger not even hitting in the white community right now. And right now, Tommy Hilfiger is trying to get a resurgence along with Fila where? In the urban clothing stores, right? So, like people don't forget where you come from. Don't go chasing Soho and LA. Stick to the hood joints that you used to. No, but you know how it is. Like people forget where they come from. Speaking of black business, I want to shout out real quick. Let me shout out Jimmy Jazz. That's where I actually got this hat from.
Okay.
And then I want to shout out Eat. Allhomage.com. Eat or die in the street. Elevate. You know what I'm saying? I'm rocking the Eat shirt right now. Shout out to Malik. Young brother in DMV doing his thing. Very professional. I had a wrong size sent to me. Worked with him online. He was courteous. He was nice. He was timely. You know what I'm saying? So there's this idea that if you go to a black business, they're going to give you attitude. And here's the thing. But when the relationship is proper, the shirt costs a certain amount of money. I paid it. I didn't look for a discount. The only discount I ever asked for is there a military discount? But I ask everybody that. Whether I'm in Gap or if I'm in Jimmy Jazz, I'm going to ask, hey, do you have a military discount? Because I want to see if my service gets me any extra discount. Because it does in some places. But outside of that, I'm not going to ask for a discount because I'm black or I got a black podcast or something like that. So we should hook each other up. No, I mean, I just paid the money that was due. I actually have 2 shirts from him. And they're quality shirts. They're really nice. So I like rocking it. You know what I'm saying?
You all that with your little shirt.
For those that didn't catch it earlier, we were talking about little. No, it's true. So me and Katrina was talking about this. People when they try to diss you sometimes, they put the little out there,
Like a microaggression.
Yeah, like, I see you in your little Eat shirt, you know what I'm saying? I see you in your little hat. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I saw you lost some weight. I saw your little video when you talked about you lost some weight. You know what I'm saying? They try to belittle and talk about you little. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, I just want folks to know, you know, we on to that. We know what that means. You know, if you say something like, hey, you know, I seen your little car, I saw your little shoes. I'm a size 12. Ain't nothing little about them shoes. You know what I'm saying? But hey, I'm just saying.
All right now.
Look, but I still want to leave on a positive note. Yay. I know there's a lot going on in this country that has people kind of like just, I don't know. And I was really inspired by Reverend Watley, shout out Kingdom Fellowship, and that's the message he preached this morning. You know, sometimes people feel like they can't find the bottom. Like, what's the bottom of all this crap? Like, I don't even see a way up. But you got to keep looking up. I know sometimes it doesn't seem like there's an end to the issues, but there's always an end. And sometimes there may not be an end. And if I could just kind of get a little preaching on you guys, if you were to refer to Daniel chapter 7, the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were in the fire. And for anybody that knows the story, they said when the people saw the fire that was working for Nebuchadnezzar, they said they saw a fourth man in the fire with them. So if that, and the whole point of that being is sometimes you may be going through things, but if you're a person of faith, that faith could be walking with you through those problems. So there's a benefit to having faith. There's a benefit to trying to be positive. It may not be faith for you. It may be positive affirmations. It may be taking on some extra reading. It may just be getting more positive people around you. They may not be able to give you money towards your situation, but the fact that you have someone in your ear encouraging you to get through it, right, could be beneficial. So there's a song by a group called G.I. It's off their winning album from 2017. The song is called Pray and Don't Worry. Some of you may not pray, but maybe you just need some mental relaxation time for yourself so you don't have to worry about the troubles of life. It's a proven fact that people who practice a faith, not saying a particular faith, but people who practice a faith have I think it's like an 87% more chance of living more fulfilling lives. It is not because they have more money. It's not because they're better than other people, but their perception on life seems to help them get through things at a better rate than others. All right. So, anyways, this is Pray and Don't Worry. It's your boy Jay DaCosta.
It's your girl Katniss.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. And this is a little jam right here too. This is also like an inspirational gospel group, G.I.
On
the Christian radio, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's dope.
Right. They still playing.
It's a dope song. Sing it, brother. Together we are, Nitty Gritty. We out. Thank you guys for joining. We out, Facebook, IG, we out, YouTube, we out.